now that I have explained the series, go ahead and subscribe to TMC's channel so that you guys can see what he's doing in the city. Because this is all the same world. He will be uploading videos from the same world. So over here we have sort of the main road through this area. It's called Tidal Avenue, but over here it becomes First Avenue, but First Avenue isn't much, which is also called Route 132, which takes both of the roads. So let's review the area that I have set up here, and I guess I can teach you guys a bit about the past as well. So First Street is over here, so First Street. So north of here, the streets will become numbered streets, but of course, there's no roads up here, so for now it's just First Street. South of here, you have the neighborhood of Smithtown in New Appalachia, which will have named streets. So let's go over here into this restaurant. So this is called the Smith Family Diner. Of course, the area is called Smithtown, so you would have the original Smith Family Diner. It looks like there's an American flag hanging here. Note that there is only 45 stars on it. That is because the other 5 states were not states yet. New Mexico was a territory, as was Arizona, Oklahoma, Hawaii, and Alaska was not purchased by the Americans from Russia. So it looks like they just have some stuff painted on the wall. It looks like they've brought over some paintings from where they're from, which is Britain. Many Americans at the time, well, a lot still are, were from Britain. Of course, in this area, there were also quite a lot of Germans as well in the Midwest. I myself am Slovak, but am part German. So yeah, you can see they had, the Brits and the Germans had quite a lot of ancestry in this country. So this is the 1955 room. I call it that because originally, before we had decided to time lock things, I had built a McDonald's, but once we decided to time lock things, McDonald's didn't exist anymore because it was founded in 1955. So I'm putting all the stuff for the McDonald's in this back room over here, and maybe I'll bring it back once the time comes. In probably a few real-life years, we will have McDonald's if the world lasts that long, and I hope it does because I'd like to reach the present day. I think that would be pretty cool. Okay, let's go through, shall we? So you will also notice street signs are brown. This is what you see in many historical areas of cities. You will see signs that look fancier like this. This is because the standard of lime green signs that you see around many cities was not relevant yet. And I believe this was changed in the 60s or 70s. So some of you guys might have parents that were alive when signs were not standardized as green and could have been some fancier design. Okay, so here you have just an apartment. So I will explain how I'm going to be doing buildings, because people will ask, are you doing interiors on every building or are you doing filled-in buildings? So I will not be doing opaque buildings. I will be doing them like this, so they may not have an interior, but you can still access them and access the rooftop. I think that is something that we need, because sometimes me and my friends, we like to do skits on the world. Well, I do anyway. So I want everything to be accessible in survival if we play any survival type of games on here. And I do have some stuff planned out. So I think this would be a very cool city for some stuff like that to happen. So I want every building to have roof access at least, even if there's not a fully set up interior. And you can just see over there, dirt paths were common in the United States at the time, so many roads in the Midwest were dirt paths. Many were not even cobblestone. So many places in the outskirts didn't even have cobblestone roads. And of course, asphalt was very, very uncommon at this time. It did exist, but it was really uncommon. Most streets were cobblestone, and you will see as this world ages, as we reach a time when we have asphalt, you will see the streets slowly change, because I will be changing over my streets at least, because that will add some history to the world. So over here you just have a little bit of a range in here. Many people at the time were you know, they'd go out into the wilderness, they'd do hunting stuff, so I figured give them a range to practice over there. And of course, I put roof access in all of my buildings. And it looks cool. Once you come up to the roof, I think it's cool. So I put roof access. Okay, so now let's come out of this building. And I should point something out with guns back then. Many of the guns back then were wooden, so you don't have what you see today. You see today typically the plastic or steel type of guns. Back then they were all wooden, and there was no such thing as automatic fire. It was all semi-automatic, which is click once and one bullet comes out per click. So, and it was like that through World War I as well. You did start to see machine guns soon, but that's it. So, Chase. You did have the Chase National Bank around the country. Back then, looks like we have... Who's this? So, who are you? Vinny. So, this is Vinny. He has a pizzeria over there. He's been having some problems lately with the Mafia. The Mafia is still a big deal. In this city especially, they're a big problem. But, you know, I just try not to mess with them, and then I don't have any issues. But, yeah. So, Chase National Bank. The Chase banks did exist back then as well. And if you were in New York City, it was called the Manhattan Bank. But elsewhere, they were just Chase National Banks. And you can see very old interior here with just bulbs hanging above. Nothing so universal and so symmetrical everywhere as you see today with just strips of light. Instead you had bulbs. So let's go to the back and let's check out this area. So I will grab a key. All banks back then were insured by gold, at least dollar-wise. So I figured what better way to represent that than by creating a nice vault back here with gold. So you have your golds here and it's secure in this vault. So you want to keep that locked in case anybody may want to steal it. So here's just the other side of the receptionists. So this is pretty cool. Your Chase Bank from the early 1900s, or well, I guess this would be a late 1800s Chase Bank because it's the year 1900, so we just came out of the 1800s. Okay, so let's proceed down Alexandria Street, which is this one. You don't have much over here because I was focusing on this block more. So you have this apartment complex. So this is pretty cool. It has two apartments that are connected by a courtyard. Over here, you can play checkers or chess with your friends or your neighbors. You have these streetlights here in black, the fancier variety, than the typical gray ones over there. And then I have made some trees. So these trees were made by me. These are not prefab trees. I created these myself. Then it's just walled off because you don't want people coming in from other buildings into the courtyard. This is just for residents of these two apartments. Okay, so let's go up to the rooftop and let's see what the view is like up here. So again, I've made it so that you can at least access the rooftop. Even if it's empty, it still looks cool because you can still look out the windows. And I think that you may want to look out the windows. So, why not? Okay, so let's proceed up to the top. And it looks like you can start to see the rooftops of those buildings up there. So we will proceed up. And there should be a ladder over here. Yup, there's the ladder. And welcome to the rooftop. Very rusty doors, of course. Over there you can see an elevated structure. That is relating to my transit company. I have already claimed an entire roadway there, but that looks cool with the cobblestone. Alright, so you can see down there. And I will explain more stuff around there as well. That's pretty interesting for you to know. Okay, so you can see over there, you can see back to where we started over there by the river, by the ferry pier, over there by the docks. You can see over there to the gas station. So yeah, these buildings over here and that one, because these are the same buildings over here, they are the tallest ones in the area because buildings were not so tall back then. Most of the buildings are short back then. So nothing really so tall. You do have some tall buildings. You had the Empire State Building, which I believe came up in the 30s or the 20s. I know I'm going to get scalded for not knowing the year in the comments, but yeah. So that's when you started seeing taller buildings, although you did start to see some tall ones around now. They'd start to gain a little bit of height, but nothing like the skyscrapers you see today. Okay, so let's go this way. So a lot of buildings also had alleyways back then because you need somewhere to put the trash. So you have some alleyways behind the buildings. Let's head over this way and I will show you guys the Webb Mass Transit HQ. So it is located on Swamplands Avenue. So this is also 2nd Avenue because over there it will become 2nd Avenue. And down here it is Swamplands Avenue when you switch to the Smithtown neighborhood. So here is the WMT headquarters. So why did I call it WMT? Am I stealing off BMT? No, I'm not. BMT is Brooklyn Manhattan Transit. WMT is Webb Mass Transit. I had some other name ideas, but this one worked best. For example, I almost called it Westover Eastover Transit, but the initials come out to WET, which is wet, and I don't want to call it wet. There will be too many jokes made about it if I do that. Okay, so over here, you know what? No, I'll explain what these are after. I mean, they're obviously barriers, but I'll explain more about them after we tour the WMT headquarters. So 8 Swamplands Avenue is the address if you'd like to send mail. Here's a portrait of the beautiful founder himself, me, WMT over there. I have some public information over here, so in case the community wants to come over here and read about the plans of the WMT. This is regarding the Gordontown line, phase 1, elevated line. And yeah, so you can just read that. There's some cool stuff to read here. So that's one of the logos, and that's the other logo. So we have 2 logos of the WMT. They interchange between the same color palettes of that one and that one. So here, I'm going to take you guys to the staff-only area. So only staff is allowed beyond this point, and if you are not staff, you are not allowed here. Welcome to the staff-only area. So here we have some bathrooms. So you have the men's bathroom, which doesn't have an interior yet, and the women's bathroom, which doesn't have an interior yet. Over here, we have an office area. I'm not sure what will go in here, but there's space for an office there. Maybe I'll put the legal office there. Okay, so up here you have the 2nd floor. So this area is cool. So this is the records room. So here I keep all of the records of the WMT to make it official. So here's route plans. So I will just go through this book in case you may want to read it. So there you go. There's just some stuff here. You can pause on the pages and you can read this book over here. Okay, so then we have another book here related to financials. All right. Here's another book relating to acquisition of money to begin construction. So yes, I did actually calculate or attempt to calculate the price that it would have cost to build that elevated line that you see started over there. Here's the legal section, and here's competition, because we need to know what's going on with the competition out there. So yes, let's keep quiet about that one. So here's the meeting room. Again, you have the 45-star American flags. Here you have a portrait of the beautiful man himself, the founder, Web Soak. Here is the meeting area. So this is for the company employees and the higher-ups to discuss things related to the WMT. So you have chairs here, but they're all the same. But since I run the company, I get the best chair, and mine has cushions on it, so yes. Okay, so over here you have a map room. So I will be putting a map here of the WMT's transit system. So this is cool. So it's going to be all across this table over here, and there's plenty of room, and you just have some WMT plaques there as well. Roof. So let's go up and visit the roof. Alright, so unfortunately our view has now been obstructed. We used to have a nice view of the trees over there, but these two apartments have come up and looks like they've ruined the view for us. So that's unfortunate. Hopefully there's a better view on this side. Okay, so the roof detailings don't have so much at this time because there was no air conditioning. That's right, no air conditioning. It's just those desk fans that you saw down below. Thankfully, those were invented by this time because Colorado is pretty hot. You can see the sun painfully beating down on us. And look how bright it is. It's so bright that the electrical work is reflecting it. And it's nearly blinding us. So let's head back down from the roof. So that was the roof of the WMT headquarters. Okay, so let's head down here. All right. So, here you can see the beginnings of the Swamplands Avenue or Gordontown elevated line. So over here we have some barriers. We couldn't use the modded ones because those weren't invented yet. Instead, they had these wooden type of barriers that looked sort of similar to this. And the reason why they stopped using these is because cars had a hard time seeing them when turning and would often crash and reportedly, according to quotes, cause horrific incidents. So you can fill that in with your imagination of what kind of horrific incidents happened. So over here there is just a notice: Swamplands Avenue closed south of this street because of subway construction going on. Over there with the elevated line, you can see I've already put the track bed over here. So I will show you guys this track bed. So it goes all the way down the streets. Oh, and there are some cool names though here. Kingdom Road over there. So I named the streets here after castle type stuff and rulers, stuff like that. Here's a cool one, Castlewood Avenue. And I will continue down here so you guys can see the rest of the elevated line and what I have set up for it so far. It's a pretty cool elevated line, but of course there's no tracks net because I want to set up the entirety of the track beds before I do that. So let's head down here and we will come to another area of this elevated line. So it sort of diverges like this, but you guys would know this if you read the book that I went through. You would know exactly what to expect. But yeah, so this is sort of how a primitive subway elevated might have looked while it was being built. You would just see the steel structures, and you wouldn't see anything on it. You wouldn't see the tracks. You wouldn't see anything like that. So you would just see the steel structures before the tracks are being placed, because of course they have to put the track beds. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. So now you know, I guess, how elevated lines were made in real life. Of course, in my subway world, I don't do it like this, but in this world, I want things to sort of naturally progress. So I am sort of doing it similar to how they would have done it in real life. Smithtown, by the way, is going to be a very big neighborhood. It's going to go all the way down to the end of where I showed you guys of how far that elevated line went. Okay, so let's review this street over here. This is called Smithtown Road. So you have different lights here. Sometimes the lights would be spheres instead of like that. So that's pretty cool, because you have lots of different light styles back then. And I'm assuming this is where the MTA in New York City got its sphere design from. They probably just took from what was out at the time. So let's go here, the Smithtown Bakery. So this is just a order bakery, so you will order what you want and then you will come back later after they make it. You have the ovens there, and yeah. Okay, so let's go and proceed. So over there you have a warehouse. Smithtown is meant to be an industrial area, so you will see lots of warehouses as I progress with building it. Over here, this is Vinny's Pizza. He's been having some problems. I mentioned how the mafia sort of is a big problem at this time. So it looks like they've left him some warnings here. Hopefully he can pay them back if he owes them some money. Although it looks like he's determined to stay open. But I think he should be very careful with those people, because they are very dangerous. You've seen what they've done to his windows here. And it looks like they've painted some stuff on it. This looks like paint because there wasn't any graffiti at the time. So there were no spray cans. So you would not see graffiti at this time. You would just see if somebody decided to paint something. And it looks like that mafia painted some stuff on his windows. They look like some threats. It said 1 week. That's not good. Okay, so you can see through the alleyway over there to that side. So we will review the last thing for today's episode. Standard. So what did we have? We had Standard Oil Company for the gas stations. So all gas stations in America, at least for the most part, were Standard Oil Company gas stations. If you've learned about the robber barons, such as Rockefeller, then you will know about his monopoly on oil, which was absolutely ridiculous. All of the oil companies that exist today, like Shell or Chevron, are offshoots of Standard Oil Company from when Congress broke it up in the 1910s. So what they would do is, if you would try to open a gas station, they would basically threaten you with an ultimatum. They will come over, they will offer to buy it. You will say no because you want your gas station to succeed. This will piss them off, so they will say, fine, do that. They will lower their prices to basically nothing. Nobody will buy from your gas station anymore. You will not be able to afford to maintain it and keep it up, and your station closes. And then they raise the price to ridiculous amounts, such as $5 per gallon here. That's crazy because at the time, inflation would make things like this a lot cheaper. So this is probably, even this is probably too high for what it would have been. $5 per gallon is probably something like $500 per gallon. So maybe not that high, but I will go over to the Vinny's Pizzeria and show you guys some price conversions to what it is in the 1900s, or the year 1900. So what you will do is go over to here. You want your gas, you'll come in here. You will buy it. It was mainly used for lamps at the time because not many people had cars. Everybody didn't have cars. Many people had horses at the time. So, you will go over to the person. You will make the payment for the gas. And they will give you what you wanted. So it looks like over here they have an election map of the year 1900. It looks like Theodore Roosevelt won. So it looks like this one was a red victory and a blue loss. Of course, back then, the South was blue. And it looks like here in Colorado we voted blue this time. And it looks like the North. Well, no, I know the North. The North was red back then because the parties had a flip at some point in the 1900s. And then, of course, you have the territories here of Oklahoma and Arizona and New Mexico right there. Looks like Rockefeller's decided to put up a picture of himself. He must be, yep, this is probably a rich person thing, so he has a picture of himself there. And I will show you guys the price changes and how that works through time. So because of inflation, if we go into this pizzeria with the shot out windows over there, you can see prices here. So regular, 9 cents. Would you look at that? Wow, that must be so cheap. Nope. That's the equivalent roughly to what it would have costed today. That is just inflation making it look cheaper. That would still be the same as the $2, $2.50 slice of pizza that you will see today. So don't be fooled by those prices. That Sicilian slice looks pretty expensive though. 18 cents. Come on, dude. That's a ripoff. What is he charging there? $7 for a slice of Sicilian pizza? Come on. Oh, and one more thing. You've probably noticed there's no crosswalks either. That's not because the roads are cobblestone. That's just because, since vehicles were slow at the time, you could just cross the street wherever you wanted to. So you could just cross over here and not really care. Of course, you wouldn't ignore the vehicles, but it was horses and slow automobiles. So you could cross wherever you wanted. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. So right now in game, it is currently December of the year 1900. It looks like we had a lightning strike there. There we go. So in game, it is currently December of 1900. So by the next episode, it will be 1901, since the change happens every other Tuesday and the world was started August 4th, 2021 in real life. So that means that we are set for a year change. And hopefully some things like traffic lights, we can get those soon because it's feeling awfully barren without those. But honestly, it does feel like the year 1900 in this world. So it is what it is. So if you guys enjoyed this one, please, I know this was a long episode, please subscribe, like, and comment.